The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 2 is going to be even worse than the first season. So says the latest rumor. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. This is what the rumor says, that the show will depict Morgoth and Ungoliant as Tom Bombadil and Goldberry. This rumor comes from the OneRing.net Cliff Broadway. Broadway shared a direct quote from what he's calling his spy network, and this is what they informed him. Tom Bombadil and Goldberry are in an episode. They are played by the same actor and actress as Melkor Morgoth and Ungoliant. The show will confirm the long-held fan theory that Tom and Goldberry are Melkor and Ungoliant serving out their punishment bestowed on them by Mandos. As Broadway notes in his coverage over at the OneRing.net, there is no such fan theory. Or at least he's never heard of one. I've never heard of one. I've never heard of this fan theory. Sounds utterly ridiculous. It's contrary to everything that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote about Tom Bombadil. And let's get into some of that stuff. Letter 119 to Stanley Unwin. He describes him as the, quote, spirit of the vanishing Oxford and Berkshire countryside. Does not sound anything like Morgoth or Melkor. It's ridiculous to claim that he's Morgoth or Melkor in this context. Tolkien clearly never saw Tom Bombadil as Morgoth or Melkor in serving out some kind of penance. In letter 144 to Naomi Mitchison, Tolkien also said that he clearly left Tom Bombadil as an intentional enigma. He said, and even in a mythical age, there must be some enigmas, as there always are. Tom Bombadil is one intentionally. In that same letter, he also wrote this. Tom Bombadil is not an important person to the narrative. I suppose he has some importance as a comment. I mean, I do not really write like that. He is just an invention who first appeared in the Oxford magazine about 1933, and he represents something that I feel important, though I would not be prepared to analyze the feeling precisely. I would not, however, have left him in if he did not have some kind of function. Tolkien elaborated, I might put it this way. The story is cast in terms of a good side and a bad side, beauty against ruthless ugliness, tyranny against kinship, moderated freedom with consent against compulsion that has long lost any object save mere power, and so on. But both sides, in some degree, conservative or destructive, want a measure of control. But if you have, as it were, taken a vow of poverty, renounce control and take your delight in things for themselves without reference to yourself, watching, observing, and to some extent knowing, then the question of the rights and wrongs of power and control might become utterly meaningless to you, and the means of power quite valueless. It is a natural pacifist view, which always arises in the mind when there is a war. But the view of Rivendell seems to be that it is an excellent thing to have represented, but that there are in fact things with which it cannot cope, and upon which its existence nonetheless depends. Ultimately, only victory of the West will allow Bombadil to continue, or even to survive. Nothing would be left for him in the world of Sauron. Clearly not Morgoth. He is living a completely, utterly different life than what Morgoth lived, and his life would be completely destroyed if Sauron won. So he's clearly not Morgoth. Furthermore, Tolkien said this. He has no connection in my mind with the Entwives. What had happened to them is not resolved in this book. He is, in a way, the answer to them in the sense that he is almost the opposite, being, say, botany and zoology as sciences and poetry as opposed to cattle breeding and agriculture and practicality. This was a theme he would also share with Peter Hastings in letter 153, the zoology and botany comparison. He says, in historical fact, I put him in, Tom Bombadil, because I had already invented him independently. He first appeared in the Oxford magazine and wanted an adventure on the way. But I kept him in, and as he was, because he represents certain things otherwise left out. I do not mean him to be an allegory, or I should not given him to particular individual and ridiculous a name. but allegory is the only mode of exhibiting certain functions. He is then an allegory or an exemplar, a particular embodying of pure, real natural science, the spirit that desires knowledge of other things, their history and nature, because they are other and wholly independent of the inquiring mind. A spirit, I'm going to not pronounce this word right, spirit koval, with the rational mind and entirely unconcerned with doing anything with the knowledge. Zoology and botany, not cattle breeding or agriculture. So it's very clear how he viewed Tom Bombadil. I think it's abundantly clear how he viewed him in these three or four letters that he wrote. Easily accessible. Yet the Rings of Power people are going to seemingly embrace some quote unquote fan theory that doesn't actually exist and have him be Morgoth serving out some kind of sentence. Utterly ridiculous. This isn't the first time we've heard about Tom Bombadil rumors, though. We also heard this from the OneRing.net during one of their live streams last year. It was from their source, the Green Dragon Gossip. One of the show's co-host, or Justin, I think is his name. I spelled it wrong probably here. He said, spotted on set is an actor who in the dialogue is being called Tom. When asked if this was in reference to Tom Bombadil, Sewell said, it's 100% Tom Bombadil. That's what they are saying. Tom Bombadil has been cast and will show up in season 2. So we had heard this rumor before that he was going to be showing up, but now we have more details about how they are going to depict him, and it sounds utterly terrible. On top of this rumor, there were some other rumors. He obviously talked about Sauron. Covered that in another video. I'm not going to cover that again today, but there's another little piece of the rumor where he said that the show will depict Gandalf meeting Shadowfax, even though Gandalf shouldn't even be around in the Second Age that the show is supposedly portraying. So that doesn't make any sense, but they have hobbits too. So, or the not hobbits, the Harfoots, which are literally hobbits. These people have no clue what they're doing. But this is what Broadway shared. Although these characters and animals did not exist in the Second Age, evidently we are getting the story of Belleroth the Very Valiant, if not also the story of the father of Earl, a man by the name of Leod. So if you're unfamiliar with those characters, Belleroth the Very Valiant was the steed of Earl the Young, the first king of Rohan. All of the horses of Rohan are descended from him, including Shadowfax. The horse was captured by Leod while it was still a foal. However, while Leod was able to capture the horse, he was unable to tame it. When attempting to mount it, he was thrown from the horse and killed. With his father dead, Earl recaptured the horse. 16-year-old Earl recaptured the horse and demanded its freedom in payment for the death of his father. The horse is significant because it was ridden by Earl to the aid of Gondor and won a huge victory with Earl riding him. And that victory saw the steward of Gondor at the time, Steward Kirion, grant him the land that became known as Rohan or Rohan. So, and there's a little picture of Ian McKellen as Gandalf and Shadowfax, bringing back good memories to cleanse us of this awfulness that is the Rings of Power and the plans they have. Hopefully that this has now come out. This is an Arwen fighting at Helm's Deep thing, and they completely scrap it. Because this is an abomination and should not actually be broadcast when they show season 2. Tom Bombadil is not Morgoth. Goldberry is not Ungoliant. Utterly ridiculous. Tolkien makes it very clear they are not connected. But let me know what you guys think about this rumor. Let me know in the comments below. And remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.